Hey, everybody, this is Perch. And I was talking with a friend of mine who is a penciler for comics. And yeah, you know the name. But I never am quite sure when people call me up and talk to me. Sometimes they will do an interview. Sometimes they're like, I don't want the trouble. And I don't blame them for that. That's totally fine. I don't want to make trouble for people. And, for what it's worth, I don't think being on this show creates trouble for you. But if you think that and it would stress you out, look, don't worry about it. So I have these things. But anyway, this penciler was talking about what comics really needed. We are brainstorming a little bit about, hey, what would be really helpful to comics? And his idea is one I hear a lot, and I don't believe it would be successful. I told him I was going to do a video on this, so I'm not like betraying any confidences or anything. But his idea is basically like what we need celebrities, like all these Marvel movies. When they come out, Robert Downey Jr., as part of the contract, needs to do a bunch of commercials where he talks about loving comics. Like Robert Downey Jr. needs to hold up a comic book and say, I'm Robert Downey Jr. and I read comics. Like, you need to get those kind of celebrity endorsements. And he was kind of going through the various, Chris Pratt and Chris Evans and all the Chris's need to do this and Scarlett Johansson and others. When they come out, they're like, I'm Black Widow, and I encourage you to go to your local comic shop and read Black Widow. Basically, that's the idea that celebrities have a lot of influence, and if they just marketed and promoted comics, then comics would do better. And my counter is I don't think that would be successful at all. And, and here's where like in the comments, you tell me, who's right in this topic. But I just don't think celebrity endorsements do anything for anyone. And but to his point, part of what, he was arguing is that, what's going on in the world right now is Kamala Harris is running for president against Donald Trump. And they're kind of having dueling rallies right now, and in Kamala's rallies, they're getting Lizzo and I think Lizzo is just on, and the apparently Eminem is going to be on in a few weeks or whatever. But they're getting these celebrities to come out and endorse Kamala. And on one hand, it creates a good spectacle, and maybe that's good for politics. I don't know, but basically, Lizzo can show up to a campaign speech, and so Kamala gets the people who will show up to support Kamala, and Lizzo will get the people who show up to watch Lizzo, I guess. And so the combination, it's like 1 plus 1 equals 2. So there's more people in that convention. Then the optics of it look like a bunch of screaming fans are supporting Kamala, and presumably, I'm assuming Lizzo's getting paid, but maybe not. I mean, it'd be kind of weird if she was, because if you're coming out to support a candidate, like, hey, I think this person is a better person to run the country. If you were getting a check, I think that would kind of invalidate pretty much everything. I don't know. I like you would never want that to get out, right? Because if it turned out you had a celebrity endorsement, but you paid that celebrity, I don't know. I think that'd be pretty bad for politicians, but maybe not. But anyway, I think this is kind of what we were talking about. These celebrities are endorsing Kamala, and he's like, celebrities need to endorse comics. And I'm just from a retailer perspective, years and years of selling comic books, I've just never seen this move the needle in any way. But this has been a talking point in comics for like I don't know, like 40 years. As a, from the day I remember the first month of being a retailer, I was pushing to get a signing going in my shop. And I remember this idea coming up like really early, like early 90s. I remember this idea of, hey, we should get a celebrity in here, not to my shop, but just into comics to kind of promote the love and joy and value of comics. We got to have celebrities endorsing comics. That's how we're going to be successful. And this has been an idea that's been forever. And you see it. You see it with when you talk to Marvel and you hear. I remember a couple years ago, CB Cebulski made a comment about, I want to sell 1 million copies of a comic book, and he's like, I think I have the perfect idea to do it. And it turned out the perfect idea was to get J.J. Abrams' son to write the comic. But part of CB's idea was that this was for that Elseworld Spider-Man story or whatever. But part of CB's idea was basically that you get celebrities to help promote the comic, and that's what's going to cross it over into the mainstream. And if you've been to a convention or you've talked to comic creators, this is pretty common belief inside the comic industry. The belief that what would help comics are celebrities endorsing comics, because right now comics are in the niche market. It's the local comic shop. And the thing that's going to be most valuable for getting comics to be more successful is leaning in more to the mainstream or into celebrities. And oftentimes, people will cite The Big Bang Theory and the fact that this sitcom had, at various times, the actors hanging out in a comic shop. And somehow this was very good for comics. Now, my problem in all this is I don't think there's any evidence that this was actually good for comics. I've never, I don't know what the crossover audience between people who buy comics and The Big Bang Theory is, but I don't think it's that big. I think that generally speaking, The Big Bang Theory appealed to an audience, and the fact they were in a comic store was kind of a source of, humor. It was poking fun at nerd culture. I don't think any part of that was like people watched The Big Bang Theory, saw the guys hanging out in a comic shop and were like, "Holy shit, I got to go buy some comics now." I don't think that ever actually occurred. It isn't natural for that to occur. I think what really went on there is, you know, the story was using it for a punchline. It was using it for a gag. It wasn't using it to promote comics. So the idea of more celebrities endorsing comics, I don't think does anything. Now, I grant you, if you're going to a comic book movie, you're going to see, I don't know, whatever it might be, you're going to see this Deadpool Wolverine, right, in the theaters now. So you're going to see Deadpool Wolverine, and you know, does that, like, should Ryan Reynolds come out at some point with Hugh Jackman and go, "Hey, we played Deadpool and Wolverine on the big screen, but if you would like to read thousands of hours of entertainment of Deadpool Wolverine, all you have to do is go to your local comic shop, and they've got comics to hook you up, and you'll be really glad you did. Please go check out Deadpool Wolverine in your comic shop today. Go read Deadpool Wolverine." I I just, this is where I know that wouldn't work on me. If I was watching that, I would have been like, "Wow, that's very cringe," and I it does not appeal to me at all. I want to go to a comic store less, having watched that. But I'm Gen X, and apparently nobody gives a shit about us. So you, the person who's listening, I know based on the stats of my channel, you're probably a millennial, you're Gen Y, and maybe that works for you. I grant you the idea of the TikTok influencer and other people who are able to sell you products, based on just kind of existing. I understand that's a thing. I just don't think that if you're going to see a superhero movie, getting a promo for why you should go buy comics in a comic shop. I mean, you it just, I don't think it makes any sense. I don't think it actually does anything. So I'm curious if any of you have a different take. But for whatever reason, the comic industry is very convinced that this is the way, as they say, and that the only way comics are going to be successful is if they can properly harness the celebrity to help make it successful. I've seen no evidence ever that is actually the case, that actually works and it pans out like people say. So, what do you think? You are a customer, you're going into a comic shop, you're buying comics. Does a celebrity endorsement help you or hurt you? And also, what's the authenticity like? I mean, this goes back to the comment I was making about politicians. If a celebrity is endorsing a comic, you kind of assume that celebrity is getting paid to do that, right? Like, you don't really feel that celebrity actually loves the comics. I mean, Kevin Smith, to his credit, he sold the fact that he was a comic nerd back when DC hired him to do some stuff a while back. And whether that was successful or not, you did get the feeling like he actually enjoyed comics. Kind of the same thing with Joss Whedon and the Astonishing X-Men bit. You got the sense that, yeah, this guy actually does like comics. And so his endorsement carries a little bit more weight. But generally speaking, I think celebrities doing endorsements feels phony. And I think whether it's, for Kamala Harris or for Donald Trump or for anyone, I don't think it does much. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course. Does this stuff work on you? Are you a mindless consumer? I mean, do you care about celebrity endorsements? Let me know. Thanks for listening.